For 10 years before I started drawing, I painted in oils, mostly of Australian trees, mostly very large trees, and mostly, of course, Australian gum trees. And it's a large Australian gum tree, such as this painting of one, that we're going to draw now. So here it is. This is a picture I took, in fact, to paint, and never did paint this one. But I just want to show you how the first thing I do with a reference photo of a tree is I seek to establish where the various clumps of leaves are on the canopy, because a camera very much flattens these and it can be very hard to see where they are because the tree is coming towards us and we want to capture a sense of that three-dimensionality with our drawing as best we can, and we can't do it if we haven't worked out where the tree in fact comes towards us. So that's what I'm doing here, just establishing that. And then we're ready to start. So as with any drawing, consider the most helpful place to begin. I've started roughly in the center of the canopy because I want to position this on the page well, and I think that's going to give me the best chance of going up and down to where the trunk hits the ground and off to each side. It's a fairly balanced tree. Now, a complex large tree such as this can be very difficult. We don't want to randomize the leaves and the canopies because then it ends up often just looking like a wallpaper effect and very generic. So we want to capture something of the individuality of this tree, but we don't want to get too bogged down because it'll take forever and may look labored. We still want to keep a bit of looseness in our lines and our movements as we draw it. So it's this combination of seeing what's in our reference and seeking to draw it, but not getting too bogged down in detail, but keeping the overall sense of light and dark on the tree canopy. And if we look at this one, if we draw a line straight down the middle, we can see that there's a lot more dark on the left-hand side and that it's a lot darker. So there's both more shade and shadow on that left-hand side. And so we need to capture that overall by the time we get to the end of our drawing. But we don't need to do all that right now. It's something to bear in mind. It's good to kind of be pushing a tree this size out in all directions because it is a very full shape and we don't want to end up with it looking lopsided because we do need to keep a certain balance in terms of where the tree is anchored in the center. Not that trees can't look lopsided, but part of the appeal of this one is a certain symmetry in its shape, and so we want to make sure we capture that. And so I'm keeping a very light touch with what I draw here. Virtually anything I do at this point can be overdrawn with hatching lines, so there's no need to get too precious or uptight about lines that may not be quite in the right place. But we also have to make sure we don't get lost. And so I keep looking at the reference photo. It can be hard to see the areas of sky, which I've left when I've drawn as sky. It can be very easy just to put lines on top of those. That is easier when you're painting and you've got the blue there to keep those areas preserved. And now I'm swinging over to the left hand side, the side in more shade, and again the important thing is I establish the fact that this is all in shadow, all of this section, and I get some sense of balance because I have drawn a lot of lighter bunches of leaves on the right hand side. So I want to sort of balance that and get a sense of it being much darker on the left. And again, I'm staying pretty loose with my silhouettes on the top. Silhouettes are incredibly important with trees. Always avoid doing a hard solid line. Even if the tree has been heavily pruned into a shape, it still isn't going to have a smooth line unless you're an extremely long way away from it. And we want to give a sense that it's of a leafy surface area. And so a rough, jagged, spotty, speckly line will do that. But the thing we mustn't do is we mustn't suggest individual leaves. A tree of this size, at this distance, we are not seeing any individual leaves. And if I draw shapes that look like a leaf, I have suddenly made the tree a lot smaller. I've changed the perception of scale. So I need to make sure that I don't do that at all. And with a drawing such as this, it is easy to get lost in the detail and lost in the line work And if you feel that you've got lost in the line work in doing sort of the leaves and the outlines of leafy bunches, then switch your eyes to seeing the tone and stop looking at the line and outline and see the tone in the reference photo and do hatching of the tone and seek to establish the main areas of dark, and that will help you find the form again. It's easy to do it. I did that several times back and forth as I drew this. When I felt I just got a bit confused with the line work, I forgot the lines and I went back to the tone, and that helped me establish the sense of the outline of the tree. And then I thought I'd better anchor it into the ground and put this fence in. Now this, while I wasn't doing a whole scene properly, this fence is great because again it establishes the sense of scale, and when we look at that we know that, well, that's about half the height of a person. So this is a very big tree, and so where something can be put in to help us understand this is a big tree, I think it's certainly an advantage to our drawing. So now I'm just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, adding little bits of extra tone. It's possible to do too much. It's good to stop and walk away, have a cup of coffee, do something else, and come back with having had a bit of a break and say, does it really need more tone or not? And if it does, add it. But otherwise we can end up that we end up covering all our spaces, and it's important to avoid that because, well, you can't take them off, can you? And then my big tree is done. What do you think? Hi, I'm Stephen Travers. If you've watched this far and you haven't already subscribed, then please hit that subscribe button. It'd be great to have you on board with my drawing channel. And if you have already subscribed, then please hit like, and even better, leave a comment. Tell me what else you would like me to do a video on. That would be tremendously helpful. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's really important with trees when they appear in our architectural landscapes to draw them with just as much careful observation as we do our buildings. And sometimes our problem is with trees, why we find them difficult, is we're drawing more from our idea of what a tree looks like, which often comes from children's picture books rather than from real life. So it's important, particularly I think with trees, that we observe and we think, and then we make considered choices with our lines. They're no easier or harder than the architecture. They're just different to draw, different shapes, different principles, but the line work is all the same. It's all a pen, it's all paper. So have a go at drawing trees, perhaps trying to see them with new eyes and draw them more accurately. And of course, the important thing is, whatever we're drawing, is that we have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.